106.5 CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station.
One man to beat, you can forget about it. Touchdown, Alabama.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. You were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take the biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. That's Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. Kicking off this free-for-all Friday, the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. We love to hear from you, your thoughts, your ideas, your comments, and your conversations that you're having around the water cooler. You can bring them right to the airwaves right here on Tide 100.9 or on the Martin Houston Radio Network. And you can do that by following us, liking us, and sharing us on Martin Houston Speaks on Facebook and YouTube. And also look us up on Twitter at Martin Houston Speaks under the username M Houston Speaks, as well as X's and O Sports. You can go check it out there as well. So a lot of opportunities, a lot of ways to interact and get in on the show. I want to apologize to my network for being out yesterday, but sometimes the weather gets you and you have to recoup and make a comeback. And I'm glad to be back with you. I want to thank X and Joe for doing a great job on yesterday. It is a free-for-all Friday, so we got lots of things we can get to, but we'll let you help us drive the conversation. You can call us on the Alabama One hotline at 205-342-9904. That's 205-342-9904. So what do we have as potential topics? We can always circle back on things from throughout the week. So if there's something that you wanted to get to that we didn't get to this past week, please feel free to bring that up, chat it, post it, call in on it. But A-Day spring game set. What are you most excited to see about spring? Is it the young wide receivers, the young running backs, the young quarterbacks, the young linebackers, or maybe something else? Maybe you're excited to see if we're going to have a new offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator. Will there be changes in that arena? That was one of the topics I had planned for True False yesterday. Of course, did not get to make that. And then also, will we only be looking at the 3 guys or 4 guys that are currently scholarship guys for Alabama, learning, hosting Simpson and Milroe? That will be the question. And then, X and Joe, you kind of got to ask yourself, based on just that little bit of conversation I just had, will this be one of the more exciting spring games we've had, more anticipated spring games we've had in a while, based on the way the season ended, the way the new players are coming in, expected to contribute, etc. Also, will there be a portal quarterback coming in or not? We can look at that. Also, we got Bama Hoops today. We can talk about that as they get prepared to head into the weekend as another chance to get another quality win, already leading the nation in top API wins, top 25 wins. So looking forward to that as well. So could be a great show, could be a great weekend. And then, of course, it's kind of hard to, Joe, we kind of forget that, oh, yeah, there is a national championship game coming up on Monday. We can start the preview on that. Alabama is not in that game, but Georgia TCU having a chance to win a national title. Both having a chance to do something that hasn't happened. It's pretty much been the Blue Bloods winning the titles, playing for the title, actually. Now TCU trying to crack into that world as well. And then, of course, Georgia trying to become the first two-time back-to-back champion, not two-time, but back-to-back champion in the college football playoff era. And so we will be able to talk about that as well. So it's an interesting thought because a statement I was reminded that I made at the beginning of the year regarding the Big 12, with the fact that Texas and Oklahoma were leaving the Big 12. I literally made the statement, man, they better get on it this year and or next, or their league may not make it because their legit shots at a national title will be joining the SEC. Talking about Texas, which we still could give them more love. Maybe the most overrated. I used to always say it was Michigan, but maybe the most overrated program in the country right now. And then Oklahoma leaving. So thought that may be their last shot. But this TCU team very well may save the Big 12, keeping them relevant. We got a lot that we can get to. So going to open up the phone lines once again. And we will keep things moving right along. So that's going to be some great conversation. And remember that this is the day that the Lord has made. So let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, Joe. How you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great today, Martin. I'm glad you're feeling better. Good to have you. And yeah, we ready for a fun football Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Curtis Lewis, and we'll get to his comment, and then we'll switch over and and see what we got going on. It says Curtis said, "I definitely want to see if and who the new coordinators are. Otherwise, spring means nothing to me." What are your thoughts on that comment? I mean, interesting take. Want to see the coordinators, but spring means nothing to him. Do you think that's the sentiment of the rest of the Bama Nation? And do you think spring ball matters?
Oh, spring ball absolutely matters. I think, and especially if you're breaking in two new coordinators. So I missed who you said made that comment, but I think they're inaccurate on their assessment. Yes, I'm definitely interested to see who the coordinators will be, but I think spring ball is going to be very important for Alabama. You get Coach Saban gets to look at the quarterbacks. No, he's not going to make any decisions, but he gets to get his first impressions on them. You get your chimes with the new coordinators and all the new bodies in Tuscaloosa. Yeah, spring ball is very important.
Yes, I would agree with that, and we can circle back on it because I can tell you now. Do not. Maybe this is what Curtis is referring to. Don't get all caught up in who's the starters or who has the best spring game. Okay, that part I think has been what has gotten Alabama fans, Joe, the last couple of years, is that we've seen these superstars in spring ball, and then there's been no translation to the fall for the most part in several key positions. Wide receiver a couple times, has kind of let us down, and we've been disappointed. But as far as the importance of spring ball, man, this is where this is where you look at it and see that who's willing to fight, who is willing to compete. I can remember my freshman year, and it is a personal story. Is I came in, Joe, before the day of when players could leave early. I mean, enroll early. So I couldn't get here till the summer, and when I was coming out, Joe, staying even coming in the summer early was not a thing. So I literally showed up on campus the week of the week of that the freshman reported, and had a great spring. And this was the conversation that Bill Kerr had with me. He brought me into his office and he said, "Martin, you're good enough to play. The problem is there's older guys in front of you." And he said, right now, he said, you could play for this team right now. But I had 2 weeks to make that impression, Joe. 2 weeks before we started getting ready for the fall. So 2 weeks, after 2 weeks, getting ready to go into that third week, he tells me that. And then he says, but the other guys are also good. And so you're going to be the third, fourth guy, maybe the fourth guy off the bench or whatever, may have been even fifth. He said, so you can continue to fight and battle, and maybe you get yourself into it, or we can go ahead and choose to redshirt you. And I said, I want to be redshirted because I didn't want to waste a year. And I think back, had I had a whole spring, I could have potentially got to second, third, you know what I mean? Because I had a niche. I was a short yardage guy, and I proved that within the first scrimmage and second scrimmage and third scrimmage of that season. And I say all of that to say this: these guys get a chance, Joe. What is it, 25 or 26 of the 28 signees, some crazy number Hank said, will participate in spring ball this year. I think he said on yesterday, which is just unheard of. Only 2 guys for sure not going to make it, and possibly 3, but that's going to be interesting. And spring is that. Let's not look at it from the standpoint of who ends up being a starter because of injuries and different things like that. Let me see what Curtis had to say to that. Joe, any thoughts or comments on that as I read out Curtis's comments, because he's replying back to as I was talking. So,
well, I think you're right that spring is very important, and I think that you're also right that whoever's starting at the end of 8A is not guaranteed to be your starters walking into that first week in August. So, but it is important. It's a great chance to assimilate to college life. It's a great chance to get a chance to go through the fourth quarter, go through everything that comes with being an Alabama football player. That if you're doing that, you're a couple of weeks before your freshman year. I think that transition's a little more difficult. These guys are coming in early, Caden Proctor and all the rest. I think that it's only a benefit for them to be here early and to get used to the program, get used to the system, so that they can contribute hopefully early.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's as much about their growth, their development. And we as Bama fans probably don't need to get caught up in who the starter is for a couple reasons. One is not everybody participates in spring from injuries and surgeries and things like that. But also, don't think that what's that fifth KPI we issued is roster management. Sometimes I think Saban may leave guys in there as a starter, Joe, so they don't transfer. You have a guy that's a third, fourth year guy, and a freshman comes in and is better than him. Saban probably isn't going to put that guy necessarily up there unless it's just so obvious that you can't, because now those guys can jump into the portal and be out of here. And Joe Curtis said Saban didn't want to see the QBs in live action all year, so spring won't tell him nothing. And I can disagree with that, because one of these guys has to tell him something, or we'll end up with a portal quarterback. So, like I said, one of these guys will have to tell him something. Spring didn't help Leary, just got our hopes up. Once again, that's the fan perspective. Let's remember, look at it from the player perspective, not from the fan perspective. But I'm still excited to see some of these guys. Sounds like Saban philosophy, except for you being better than the older guys ahead of you. Yeah, so there's a lot that we can get to out of spring. Will be a portal guy. Will one of the young running backs come in here, man, and make some noise? Jace McClellan is the heir apparent, but is he dominant enough that you feel like it's his job to hold on to, other than the Saban loyalty thing? Could one of these guys possibly end up there? And speaking of portal and NIL, both of those probably need to be worked into the KPIs. We'll come back on the other side and we'll talk about Will Reichert being one of those guys. Did Will Reichert get an NIL deal? Is that why Will Reichert is back? Does he just love college football? And is the kicker potentially one of those positions, Joe, that the NIL in college may be just as lucrative as it is being a 5th, 6th, 7th round kicker or later drafted or free agency? So all of that conversation can be had. We'll keep it up. Alabama having more portal guys land. Everybody's on their new team except for one guy in the Alabama lineup, Damian George, the lone Tider, who has not landed with a new team. Will someone pick him up? Where is his most likely landing place? We can talk about all of that and more right here on the Martin Houston Show. If you're on the phone lines, we'll get you coming out of the break. This is the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. Xavier and I switching places. He's down today, so Joe and I will step in and cover for that. You listen to the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we start our Friday morning with a wreck involving an overturned vehicle on US 82 westbound at Ecolo Road near Gordo. You can expect delays. Everything else looks good, but if you see conditions, of course, give me a call. It's a brand new month, brand new year, and brand new savings for you at Townsend Nissan. Go grab a deal. I'm Captain Ray.
The universal truth of women's shoes. The cuter they are, the more they hurt.
You have to put your best foot forward, and if your best foot is an ugly shoe, oh my goodness.
Lise Ann thought she had to choose between looking good and feeling good, until she got fitted for arch supports at the Good Feet store.
Now I can wear the shoes that I've picked out because I like the way they look, not because they were comfortable.
Good Feet relieved her pain and her fashion dilemma. Stop by or schedule your free fitting at goodfeet.com.
Now open in Tuscaloosa at the Midtown Village.
Dad, I don't feel good.
I'll grab the Vicks DayQuil Kids Honey.
Isn't DayQuil just for parents?
Actually, Vicks DayQuil Kids Honey is just for kids, specially designed to treat kids' most bothersome cold symptoms quickly with a honeylicious tasting flavor kids like.
You know what else kids like?
DayQuil Kids Honey first, then video games.
Deal.
Vicks DayQuil Kids Honey, the kids' honeylicious daytime coughing, congestion, stuffy head, stuffy nose medicine. Safe for ages 6+.
A story of first downs and second chances. Meet former pro football player Michael Robinson.
I wanted to keep playing, but my feet hurt.
And all those big league experts couldn't help?
You have access to anything, but none of it worked.
Finally, he got fitted with Good Feet arch supports.
Let me tell you something. They work.
Now, he recommends Good Feet to
anybody. If you move, go to the Good Feet store.
Sign up for your free fitting at goodfeet.com.
Now open in Tuscaloosa at the Midtown Village.
By now, you know that sound. It's the sound of the Home Depot. But what about that sound? You're listening to a set of GE appliances, complete with all you need to keep food fresh, dishes clean, and everything else stress-free. Making this the sound of savings on top brand appliances. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. Get up to 25% off select GE appliances right now. Offer valid January 5th through January 25th, 2023. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Another cool and dry day today with a sunny sky. Tuscaloosa's high 59. Clear tonight, the low 37. For tomorrow, partially sunny with a high at 63. Sunday, cloudy, some light rain at times. Sunday's high at 58. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 33 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Sophmark Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at sophmarkdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back in to the Martin Houston Show. Thanks for all of you who join us on the radio airways, as those who join us on the online radio network. We're so glad to have you a part of our show. You're always welcome to add your thoughts and your comments, and I do my best to work them in. We get some comments from CJ Watson, C. Lewis, and of course, Blind Squirrel Sports joins us again. Joe, and Blind Squirrel Sports, he's been down, kind of laying on the low right now, but he's a Georgia guy, so he's quietly been enjoying himself. We got a couple of those, Joe, that tune in now. One guy named Rob Lambert, part of my church, he kind of every once in a while throws a dinger in too. But Georgia Bulldogs taking on TCU for the national title, trying to become the first back-to-back champion in the college football playoff era. TCU very well may be on a mission to save the Big 12. So we'll talk about that as well. Let's get to Alan. Alan, you're in with the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning, gentlemen. Well, my truck is still gassed up. Got plenty of fuel in it to take both them coordinators out of town. Just let me know where they need to go. I can pack all this stuff on one load and won't have no problem doing it. Just let me know where they need to go, as long as they're out of Tuscaloosa. Well, my comment was this. I got two things. Is it true that they're not going to be able to tailgate out there for the national championship? If that is, that the NCAA has dropped the ball, and that is totally ludicrous. Really.
I have not heard that. Joe, have you heard anything on that?
No, I'm not familiar with that story, Alan. What do you know? What do you know?
Well, I was just reading something. I was hoping that wasn't true, that they wasn't going to be able to tailgate, because they said it was private property, and the owner said they wasn't going to allow it. And I said, that can't be right. There ain't no way. There's no way that can be right. I hope it's not right anyway.
We'll look at that for. We'll try to find something on that, Alan. Just stay tuned and listen, and we'll try to find that in the break and or before, and see if we can see something on that. In the meantime, let me ask you a question, because you said you got your truck lined up. Curtis Lewis asked the question: if we keep the same coordinators, does that diminish your faith in Bama chances to win a natty in 2023? Your hopes for a natty, or make you feel blah about the upcoming seasons? Does what Saban does with this coaching staff collectively, and even just it may just be individually, does that help you?
I think we could get away with Golden Sand, but Bill O'Brien and his play calling and the way he does things, he's tried to run a pro style offense when you got college players, and it's just not working. I mean, it's obviously not working. You don't have many teams. Martin, when you played, I've said this before, when you get to the goal line and you got 4 plays to get the ball in from the 1 or 2 yard line, you say, look, my 5 stars and 4 stars are better than your 4 stars and 5 stars, and you do smash mouth football, put the fullback in, and you ran up the gut. You got 4 chances to get it. And if you don't You can't do it in 4 chances. A lot of them guys shouldn't be on the field. But when you line up in the shotgun, I understand what you're doing. You're surveying the whole field, but you're lined up 4 yards behind the center, and that right there it's just not working. And he said if it ain't, if it's broke, fix it. And it's just not working like that. And I think we should change that. And we don't have any running backs right now that can just get it done from 1 yard out. I mean, just run up the middle and just keep the legs turning like you did. We don't have that right now, and we've missed that, and that's cost us a lot of opportunities against Tennessee. It cost us it almost cost us against Texas.
Yeah, I would say that Jamarian Miller is a guy I think that kind of has that bill, and I like that. I like what I saw from him in the Sugar Bowl, Allen, when he bounced it outside. He showed speed. There was comparisons made to Josh Jacobs, but there's also comparisons made to Mark Ingram. I think he may be one of those guys that can add that if we have that flavor. And it appears that you may be right in terms of no tailgating in the parking lot. Athlon Sports is one source that's reporting that. And no tailgating will not be allowed in any SoFi Stadium parking lot for the college football playoffs national championship game. They will not be allowed to tailgate before the national championship game in the parking lot. So that'll be interesting. But thanks, Alan. Appreciate that, sir. Wow. Joe, that's interesting. Go ahead. What was that?
Just one more thing. We got a lot of players coming in that's going to participate in spring training. And what I'm looking at is this: those guys, for them to be eligible, they had to put some work in at the high school level. And I mean, my hat's off to them to get eligible to graduate early, where they can participate. So that lets me know that when players do that, they have some kind of dedication and loyalty. Because that's not easy. I mean, that is not easy at all. Because you got to start when you're in the 10th grade. You just can't start when you're in the 11th and say, I'm gonna go in. You got to. This has to be prepared for.
And Alan, I would let you know that not all of the time that some of the guys who would come in early don't because of their schools. Like Keon Keeley, school doesn't allow you to leave early. So the reason Keeley won't be here, one of the reasons is his school doesn't allow it. So sometimes we think the guys who don't come because they didn't have the potential. Some of them, their schools don't allow it. And Keon Keeley happens to go to one of those schools that does not allow you to graduate early. So just FYI. But yeah, I agree with you that that's a good sign that these guys have done the work. And one of them, what's his name? Joe Ricks. Not Eli Ricks, but the Ricks that we got the late commitment from, or a signee from. He actually reclassified, if I'm not mistaken. So he's a full year and a half ahead. So it'll be interesting to watch him grow and mature, because it's possible that kid could get here on campus and grow another, couple of inches, because he technically still has another year of high school, much like the quarterback that went to Ohio State and then transferred back into Texas. So, all right. Thanks, Alan. Appreciate you, sir. All right. Joe, we can talk about that college football, no tailgating thing on the other side, but let's get Chuck Hunt on this side of the break. Chuck, you in with the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning in the new year. And I was calling. I know you had TCU and Georgia playing, and it's just some things that have you start thinking about. It seems like the transfer portal has come to have kind of become effective there. And think about TCU, where they were. TCU, I look at TCU winning, and TCU where they are now, and look at Tulane beating University of Southern California. Willie Fritz, who was about to take the Georgia Tech job, he backed out of it and decided he's going to stay at Tulane, and that portal has worked for them. Let's face it, Tulane is a school that used to be a part of the SEC. That's the LSU, the old rival. They pulled out of the SEC in 1964, but some of those people at the school didn't want it's a private institution, and they want to try to take on that Ivy League mode, but they didn't want athletics to rule that institution. But I think now, fast forward to where we are now, 2022, now 2023, they realized, look, hey, we want the success as well. And look at they went out there and beat Southern Cal in the Cotton Bowl. And also, let me tell you about TCU. Sonny Dykes used to be the head football coach 30 miles from me on Interstate 20 in Ruston at Louisiana Tech. He used to be the head football coach there. And by the way, the special teams coordinator there, Mark Tomadol, used to be assistant coach here at University of Louisiana Monroe, and then he went over to Sonny Dykes' staff at Tech, and then he went with him to the University of California at Berkeley.
Yeah, and and when you look at the Tulane job, and thanks for that information there, Chuck. The Tulane job, Joe, I'll ask you this, and then we'll get to break. Does the Tulane job, or the fact that he is he's really staying, is that potential that he's looking at what he was able to do, the impact of the portal, and the fact that not next year, but the year after, there's going to be 12 teams in that playoff, and he would have been squarely in the playoffs at Tulane, and he may be able to get, their easier from Tulane than he could Georgia Tech. Thanks, Chuck.
All right, you all take it. Great weekend.
Yeah, I think so. I think you look at what the easiest path to the playoff is, and it's probably having a great season in a group of five league, being the highest ranked group of 5 team.
Yeah, and because if you think about it, other than a lot of the blue bloods, that's probably gonna become, you think about, you list out Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, USC, some of those teams that are like the blue bloods in their respective conferences, the top 2 or 3 teams in those conferences, the next thing you see is a Power 5 job, right? I mean, and now you're talking about getting college football playoff money. All of a sudden, Tulane just got a big payout for the Cotton Bowl. Probably got as much payout, Joe, from the Cotton Bowl as their budget for a year, if not more. And all of a sudden, he sees that and then goes back and says, okay, if I'm in the ACC, I'm going to have to be better than 5 or 6 teams in my own conference versus being, able to kind of set his record, his schedule, and play against a lesser opponent and win a couple big games a year. So, interesting impact there. We'll keep it keep the conversation going there as well. And and we're gonna circle back on a couple topics we were hitting on. CJ Watson saying I haven't been overly excited about his spring game in a few years, but this year I feel completely different. QBs, wide receivers, O-line, between going to the draft or the portal, there's a lot of positions to fill. And what I mentioned is just on offense. I think this will be a fun spring for fans and a meaningful spring for the players. Totally agree with CJ Watson on that. Hey, it's a free-for-all Friday. There's a couple other conversations. See, Curtis Lewis is on the fire Coach Curry bandwagon in women's basketball as they lost to Missouri at home. There's other topics that we want to get to. We got the phone lines open. Alabama One hotline is open. It's a free-for-all Friday. Get in on the conversation if you like, or chat us up. Remember this, Alabama One has a great credit card promotion going on right now. Take the credit card challenge. Low rates do really make a difference. Let me just give you an example. Total interest amount based on a $5,000 balance paid off over 3 years, 36 months, with Alabama's average variable credit card rate of 10.99 and the average variable rate card of all of our competitors combined is 19.2. You would pay almost double, $892 of interest on the Alabama One card and $1,616 on the competitors' cards. And plus, we have all the same great benefits with the contactless pay options, rewards that you can translate into dollars to spend. And that is 1 or 1.5 based on which card you get. And you can use it at millions of places around the corner, online, and all over the world. And there's no annual fee, no balance transfer fees, and no cash advance. All you need to do is apply today for that lower rate by going to alabama1.org and go ahead and hit /credit-card-challenge, and you can apply now. And we're asking you at Alabama One together, what's your one?
This is a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update.
I'm Kim Rankin with your Tide Sports Update. The Alabama Crimson Tide football's annual A-Day game will be held on Saturday, April 22nd, 2023. Former Alabama running back Trey Sanders is transferring to TCU. Former Alabama defensive back Shaheem Carter is signing with the Tennessee Titans practice squad.
This has been a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update. Run it again! For more info on these stories and more, download the Tide 100.9 app.
Tide 100.9 Traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we start our Friday morning with a wreck involving an overturned vehicle on US 82 westbound at Ecola Road near Gordo. You can expect delays. Everything else looks good, but if you see conditions, of course, give me a call. It's a brand new month, brand new year, and brand new savings for you at Townsend Nissan. Go grab a deal. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama One, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
Into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Hey, looking for great options for lunch and dinner, go check out Taco Casa, tacocosta.com. Great choice for lunch and or dinner. Everybody gets players regardless of how they get them. Coaching is even more important to gain an edge now, and we have fallen behind. Fire the coordinators and Corey. All right. Oh, man. Could we have a new OC on Tuesday? Get Cohen asking. CJ Watson saying there's something to the group of 5 schools becoming more desirable with 12-team playoff. How much does Boise State wish there was a 12-team playoff about 10 to 15 years ago? Blind Squirrel Sports says, smart move to remain at Tulane. Georgia Tech's athletic program has decayed more rapidly than a mouth full of Tennessee teeth. Now, that is a Georgia guy who neither likes Georgia Tech nor Tennessee, but he's probably telling the truth in that regard. So got a couple guys on the line, but before we bring them in, Joe, really quick, looking at the transfer portal, 3 Bama guys going to TCU. Does this potentially make TCU right back in that contender? JoJo Earl, Brockermeyer, both from the Fort Worth area. And now rumors Trey Sanders was going to Colorado, but he makes that final commitment, I guess, potentially, we'll see, to TCU. Did TCU just get better taking, 3 guys from Bama, regardless of whether they played here at Bama enough or a lot, that makes them, not makes them, but gives them a big hit to be relevant coming out of this year.
Oh, I think TCU is well on its way to continuing to I mean, they're going to build off their playoff appearance and continue to recruit well. And I think you get three transfers out of Alabama, that's absolutely going to help.
Yeah, and I would say 2 quick questions for you. Do you see other guys going to TCU now, especially if they have a good showing against Georgia? Are there some guys who are out there waiting to make a decision, and TCU becomes a very, very lucrative, good-looking place? And does this TCU run this year really help save and quell the conversation about the Big 12 potentially folding shop?
Yeah, I do think it. I mean, anytime a team is winning, it attracts talent. So I think they're going to get more guys for sure. And your second question about the Big 12, you have to have a good showing. I mean, they have their own. They have the Big 12's, I believe, only win in the playoff era. I think Texas, or I think Oklahoma lost every. I'm pretty sure Oklahoma hasn't won a game yet. So
correct.
So TCU has the only Big 12 win. So yeah, it's a great thing for them.
Yeah, you're right, because Oklahoma, no big. This is the first time Big 12 has appeared in the college football playoff championship game. So they're the first one to win that. And with those 2 teams leaving, there's going to be this battle for who becomes the top dog or frog in the Big 12. And TCU making a statement that they're willing to do it with first-year head coach Sonny Dykes. Got some big names out of the transfer portal. And we'll talk about this more on Monday with the Georgia game. But the reality of it is the guy who's playing quarterback for them was beat out by their backup quarterback at the start of the year before he got injured. So you have to feel good about that position if you're TCU as well, coming back out of a national championship if he stays on the roster. You never know with this portal thing, but I would think he would stay and seek to play for the national champion or semifinal run. I mean, the runner-up to the national champion. Let's go to Pat as we get ready to bring Pat in. I have to throw this out, Joe, because Pat always talks about recruiting. ESPN did a story, Joe, on transfers. On a freshman All-American team, true freshman. You know how many 5-stars made the team, Joe?
5.
And how many at a minimum? There's at least 32 5-star true freshmen. At least 32. It's actually more than that based on you bringing all of from the different services. There's more than that. And then there was 11. You may say, well, that's not that big a deal, Martin. There was 11 unranked recruits in the top 5. I mean the top All-American team, 11. So let's bring Pat in and see if he's going to talk about these freshmen turning Alabama's program around. Pat, welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. What's on your mind, sir?
I want to talk about Dr. Pepper. Oh, Dr. Pepper. Hey, do they not sponsor that trophy that's going to be given away Monday night or close to it? Kind of have a whole lot to do with it.
I think that isn't their name on it?
Yeah. And what does Dr. Pepper do? Dr. Pepper has everything to do with tailgating. What is these people, these Democrats, and let's say Democrats, because that's what most of the nuts are out in California, but not talking about that. But hey, let's go back to why they didn't mean anything in California. That they should never be allowed to host a ball game at these Mickey Mouse stadiums. Now, I can understand the Rose Bowl. Hey, the Rose Bowl holds close to 100,000 people, 90-something thousand, I guess, somewhere along in there. They could be able to host it, but nobody else out there should be able to host a ball game because it means nothing to them, nothing. And go ahead, Martin.
Let me get Joe to respond to this because I know I have my thoughts on it. Joe, do you think the stadium that they chose has as much to do about creating a fan experience as anything? But undoubtedly, they did not realize the tailgate factor because this is definitely not a rinky-dink stadium. Joe, Pat, this is I think the latest of the high-tech stadiums, which is covered. It's outdoors, but it's covered. And I'm willing to bet that they know that part of their bill in opening that stadium up to make it work and go is the concessions. And they know that if they let too much tailgating go on outside, that it makes a ding in it. And I would say that I'm not sure that it has anything to do with the Democrats or the Republicans, Pat, because I think the Speaker of the House, who's trying to get the votes right now, is from California. But either way, we don't want to bring politics into that conversation. Joe, what are your thoughts? Do you think that they chose that stadium? Hold on, Pat. Joe, do you think that they're bringing that stadium? They chose that stadium part of creating the college experience as well?
Yeah, I think they chose that stadium because it's brand new and it's out in California, out in Los Angeles.
Yeah. And like I said, I think it has a lot of amenities for the fans, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get people into the stadium. Pat, I don't like the not having the tailgate thing, and it's hard for me to believe that the NCAA, College Football Playoff Committee, didn't know that, Pat, before it got announced. They had to have known that.
70,000, Pat.
How many?
70,000.
Exactly. Mickey Mouse. Mickey.
That's not Pat. That's not Pat. 70,000. If you're comparing it, okay. And we're going to jump off this subject because this would be a great offseason thing. Pat, do you understand why Alabama took out 10,000 seats and put back in only like 1,000?
They were
no. Answer the question, Pat. Do you know why?
They were having a hard time selling tickets too.
And if you can't sell 100,000 seats, if you can't sell 100,000 seat stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, with a team that's won 6 national titles, played for about 12 in the last 15 years, been number 1 15 years in a row, the winningest coach, 100 wins over top 25 AP opponents and all that, you can't sell 100,000. You definitely aren't going to sell 100,000.
Yeah, let's go back to the 70,000 seats just a second. That 70,000 seats, 40,000 of those seats are going to sponsorship. It's going to mean that each university is going to get less than 10 to 15,000 tickets going to each university's fan base. That's not fair, Martin Houston.
Pat, that's probably how many fans do you think that really want to go to that game from Georgia and from TCU aren't going to be able to get a ticket?
Lots.
I disagree.
Not at a reasonable price.
I have watched Alabama do it, Pat, and there I hardly ever, and I have to let you go after this because we got to get to Bishop before we go to break. Joe, how many times we're here on the radio, we hear a lot more than typically people do. How many Bama fans or Clemson fans or any of that have you heard complain about not getting tickets when it's out in California?
I'm pretty sure they're pretty easy to get out there.
Right. That's
they were, but not going into it. What I'm saying is that I've had lots of ball games where the tickets have been up close to $1,000 to $1,200, and that's reasonable for the normal fan.
That is not going to that's impacted, Pat, not by California. That's impacted by if this game had people out from USC or something like that, then you could have that argument, but I don't think so because they have so much other stuff to do in the South and in Alabama specifically and all of that. This is our pro team. This is that we don't have as many different things. So everybody is a football fan in the South. And so if the game's in New Orleans or the game's in Miami, then there's a lot more people because all of those teams were out here getting to play. But if USC were to fool around and make it to the playoffs, Pat, and wanted to come down to and the game was in Miami, USC isn't going to have that many fans. It's the fact that TCU is new to the party. They may have that many fans that want to go, but they're going to be able to find those tickets, Pat. 70,000 seats is probably a pretty good thing considering the two teams playing, in my opinion. And I get what you're saying, but that's definitely, I would not classify that as a rinky-dink stadium. They know exactly, Pat, they take the money, they take all that thing. They're not going to take a hit financially just to host a game. They kind of know what they can expect because they were expecting two big blue bloods to be there with that many tickets. So let's get out of here. Thanks, Pat. Bishop, you're in with the Martin Houston Show. All right, thanks, Pat. Bishop, you're in with the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. What's on your mind, sir? Bishop, you still there? I think we may have lost Bishop. Sorry about that, Bishop.
Close it out if you want to close out your callers, brother.
Sir, what now? We got George from Macon.
Yes, sir.
George from Macon, you're in with the Martin Houston Show on the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, Martin. Just to throw in what y'all were talking about. First off, I went to the game in the Rose Bowl years ago. I mean, the scenery is beautiful, but the stadium is a dump. The bathrooms are terrible. Concessions are not where they need to be. But to go, I think the major problem of having the game, in Los Angeles is travel. You got to take a 3-day minimum in a motel. The cost of the transportation there and back, makes me not want to go to the game if Alabama were to would have made the finals. It's just.
So you've been to that stadium?
Not that stadium. I went to the Rose Bowl. Back in?
Oh yeah, the Rose Bowl is the Rose Bowl is iconic, but it is not an elite stadium for the fan experience.
Martin, it is a dump. I mean, it made me think about going to Legion Field back in the 70s. That's the field that I got. Now the scenery is beautiful. I got to give you that. But the thing that I don't think is really fair, because mainly the teams that have gone to the finals are, east of the Mississippi, and travel, and then you get a motel. You got to do a 3 or 4 day minimum. I mean, it's very costly in today's world. And after, everybody got so things from home during the pandemic, it makes you see how nice it is to watch it from home and go into the bathroom when you want to, not paying $9 or $10 for a beer. I mean, that's my main problem with having the game in Los Angeles. Now, just something I was wanting to talk to you about. What do you know? I was listening to another radio show, and they were talking about Leonard being the defensive coordinator, that Xavier showed some interest in him. What are your thoughts on that, the defensive coordinator at Wisconsin?
At where?
Wisconsin.
I don't know much about him. I don't know anything about him, actually. So I couldn't really comment on that. It's just going to be interesting to see if Nick Saban can move on. I think Jeremy Pruitt's going to be the guy if he moves on from Golding. I just, with the fact that they have now let Freeze and Petrino back into the SEC.
Really, that's unbelievable to me.
Yeah. Well, I don't say it's unbelievable. I have zero problem with it. I don't think a person should not be able to get a job because they make a mistake or do something egregious if they're willing to pay their time and work to get back. I don't have a problem with them being back. I have a problem with the fact that if you don't let Bo Davis or Pruitt back into the league.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's why I have the problem with it. All right. Hey, thanks. Appreciate that insight, George. That's George from Macon. Hey, guys, we're going to wrap things up a little early this morning as we ran through a couple breaks. Michael Southern saying UA did reduce the seating, but it was also to create more premium seating for more revenue. Don't let them fool you with that, Mike. It wasn't. They didn't go to $100,000 not knowing that they could have more premium seating. They went to 100,000 seats because they could sell 100,000 seats and they had all the premium seating that they wanted. What they realized is that they were not selling 100,000 seats, and then they went back. I understand. I believe me, Michael, I'm in the know on the whole how you pay, $300,000 to get a booth which has 28 seats in it, and then you just to get on the list, and then you pay more for your tickets, and then you still have to buy your tickets. So I get that there's more money there, but that's more money up front. But the 10,000 people paying for concessions is a lot of money, and they realize we're not getting anything out of that. So how do we convert this stadium and still make money? I get the whole ticket thing and premium seating, Joe, but do you think that they did that just because of premium seating or because the fans are not coming out the way they used to?
Both. Yeah, definitely both.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, as we wrap things up, guys, we didn't really get to everything we wanted to get to this morning on this Free For All Friday. Joe, who you got with Bama versus Kentucky? We'll break that down on Monday.
Oh, Alabama, baby.
Yeah, Alabama. Keep the turnovers in that 10 to 12 range. Brandon Miller come out, be dominant. All of the, it's hard to say support guys, but all the other guys come out and play their games. I think Alabama needs to have 4 to 5 in double digits scoring. Turnovers need to be in that 10 to 12 range. And the fans, you need to be loud and obnoxious and support your team as Alabama gets another win against another top opponent, taking that lead and helping booster their ranking as they get ready to make a deep run into the SEC. Hey, I'm Martin Houston. That's Joe Gaither, praying for X to get to feeling better. We'll all hopefully be back healthy and well on Monday. For you out there, I want to wish you a great weekend. Invite you to join us at Harvest Church at 10 a.m. Hey, listen, I love it. We appreciate you. Remember to trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll Tide out there, everybody. Catch you on Monday.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend East